to Earls Court 2 in West London. We've got a capacity, 11,000 crowd inside the arena. The boxing public have demanded this one. They've paid up to £150 a ticket to see if Chris Eubank can repel Michael Watson's challenge for his WBO World Middleweight title. The last big fight at this Earls Court complex was back in July 1973, 18 years ago. Joe Bugner had what must have been the bravest performance of his whole career against Joe Frazier. Bugner went all the way with Smokey Joe. It was a great scrap, and Frazier won it on points. Good evening to you. I reckon Chris Eubank must be the most unpopular world champion in the history of British boxing. I feel sure many of you are joining us live on ITV tonight, hoping to see him lose his world title. He's unpopular because people say he's arrogant inside and out of the ring. He says he's misunderstood. You can't argue with his record, though.
Eubank beat Nigel Benn to win this WBO title. He's won all 27 fights. The 24-year-old from Brighton is making his third defence. Michael Watson, the challenger from North London. He's also beaten Benn. This is his second attempt at a world title. Michael Watson is 26. So, a battle of the Benn bashers. Now, Nigel Benn's training in Miami at the moment. He's lined up, though, to fight tonight's winner in the autumn.
He did go down, but
Eubank took Benn's world title in November last year in a real thriller.
In the shape, the eyes must rage. This will be the finish of the field. It's followed in the ninth round. That's unusual for Ben really to back away. The man who...
Michael Watson ruined Benn's unbeaten record. It was a tactical triumph for the underdog in the circus tent at Finsbury Park.
Oh, he's gone. So, the big headbutt has been hit.
But Michael Watson's career failed to take off after that. He challenged the superb Mike McCallum for the WBA world title and took a dreadful hammering at the Royal Albert Hall.
Watson just clambering into the ropes, and that was sheer exhaustion as well as those final punches came in. I think the referee did schedule.
Eubank, though, has gone from strength to strength since beating Benn. His first defence, though, in front of his home crowd at Brighton was unprofessional and unimpressive. A headbutt on Canadian Dan Sherry cost him a £10,000 fine from the British board. Really, it should have cost him the title.
But that was a backward butt.
Oh.
That was a backward butt from Eubank. If Sherry's cut the fight, he could be all over there.
Yeah, I don't know whether the referee would disqualify him for that.
Sherry is cutting his fight, he could be all over.
He's saying take time off. And Sherry's on his knees there. He's got a hit. It's a backhanded butt there by the look of it.
Well, that was a foolish thing to do.
Eubank's strength is quite exceptional. Against Gary Stretch, he started slowly. He was trading on points going into the sixth. He was never hurt, though, and finished off his second challenger very decisively.
It's the first real banger that Eubank has landed in the sixth round.
He hasn't recovered, Ray.
He hasn't recovered from it, but he's had a good look at him, the referee.
He is still stunned, Ray. Yep.
He's got him all right.
He's a strange one, though, Eubank. He struts and he poses, and he's made a lot of enemies in the fight game.
I'm glad that the man believes in his own hype. You know, he's foolish enough to take this fight, and I don't think he realises what he's up against. And, you know, my skills are far more superior than his, and you will know that on June the 22nd. You don't know, Mike, can you take those silly glasses off as well? You know, it's not that bright in there.
Well, he's got the shades off now, I can tell you. Chris Eubank and Michael Watson both waiting to enter this packed arena, and Chris Eubank says he'll make Watson pay for that impudence. Rejoin us for the fight in a couple of minutes. Welcome back to Earls Court. Linford Christie tucking into a bit of popcorn. The British captain of the athletics team. He'll get the European Cup in Frankfurt next Saturday and Sunday. Still the quickest man in Europe, and I think that looks like someone blowing in the air of Frank Bruno. Frank got a magnificent reception here at Earls Court. He wants a fight again. That'll all be down to the doctors and the British Border Control. These always nervous moments, these. Two fighters waiting to come in, and first of all you're going to hear the anthem Islington in North London. Watson, who says he's going to be doing a public service by getting Chris Eubank out of the boxing limelight. It's £1 million plus fight, this one. A lot of verbals before it, and now the verbals stop. And I'm pretty near the roof here at Earls Court too, and they're raising the roof as the challenger for the WBO World Middleweight title, Michael Watson, makes his way to the ring. Watson, self-managed after going to the High Court in a legal case against his manager, Mickey Duff. And Mickey Duff absolutely convinced that Watson has made a mistake in fighting Eubank here tonight. We shall see. A big Arsenal fan, Michael Watson. There were stories he might be carrying the championship trophy out with him, but his fight face is focused on the ring ahead of him. Jimmy Tibbs, we caught sight of, experienced corner man, leading the way in the white t-shirt. And Michael Watson saying the Gunners have won the title, Spurs won the cup, and he's going to bring about a treble for North London. And a lot of support here at Earls Court too for the challenger, the Commonwealth champion, for Michael Watson. And he is up for this one. Bang on the 11-6 limit at the weigh-in. Here's the applause for Michael Watson. Well, Nigel Benn has plumped for Watson to win this one. The bookies can't really make up their mind about it. And just behind him, Eric Seckham, long-time trainer. And now the lights dim. And we wait for the appearance of Simply the Best, as he calls himself. The WBO middleweight champion from Brighton. Unbeaten, and he says unbeatable, Chris Eubank. And what a contrast. The boos ring out round Earls Court. Remember the old wrestler Mick McManus used to be the man you all love to hate? Well, Chris Eubank, that's food and drink to him, the boos. It inspires him, he says. His anthem, Simply the Best, courtesy of Tina Turner. And Chris Eubank, who says he is the man in the middleweight division. And led out by Ronnie Davis, his long-time trainer, with a belt over his shoulder. Ronnie Davis, a man who takes all sorts of verbal ear-bashing to the gymnasium, but always produces his man in shape. And we can expect the posing and the strutting from Chris Eubank when he gets up into the ring. Waiting for him to appear at ringside, your big fight commentators, former world champion Jim Watt, and of course, first of all, let's say a very good evening to Reggie. Reg Guthridge.
Well, hello then, and the atmosphere is really tremendous at this Earls Court 2, as it's called. Choking excitement. Now, this fellow's just about to get in, and he's going to pout like a pigeon, as you all well know by now, if you've watched Eubank long enough. He sort of psyched himself into some sort of immortal pretensions, doesn't he? But you can't knock an unbeaten record. And, well, for those who criticise him, I know he's not everybody's cup of Darjeeling, but there you are. We'll learn to live with this fella. I mean, you can't do better than win. Well, he's just looking around and going to take a bow, I think, to all the personalities that are here from showbiz and the sporting world. They're really all here, as you've seen, Bruno McCullum. You see, you've got to wait for me, he said, then he'll vault over the top rope. I think we're all waiting for a Fosbury flop on his backside, but it hasn't happened yet. And they've applauded him. He's got more than his share of support here, to my surprise. And waving with these ribbons was an idea apparently of Chris Eubank, and there they are there showing the belt as a tribute to the hostages in the Lebanon. Really packed with personalities, and well, the fellow who had to sort out the seats to put those in, I wouldn't have wanted his job. I imagine the fellow who did the head count and Noah's Ark had an easier task. So the talking's over. The referee from New Jersey is Frank Cappuccino. Last seen here with Tony Simpson and Frank Tate.
My lords, ladies and gentlemen, promoted by Matchroom in association with Giant Promotions and sponsored by the Daily Mirror, we are proud to present the main attraction of the evening. A middleweight contest at 11 stone 6 pounds over 12 rounds, each of 3 minutes duration for the WBO Middleweight Championship of the world. Your judges for the contest are John Rupert of Miami, Florida, Art Lurie of Las Vegas, Nevada, Carlos Colon of San Juan, Puerto Rico. Your WBO supervisor is Mark Schechner of Miami, Florida, and your British Boxing Board of Control steward in charge is Nipperee. Your referee for the contest is Frank Cappuccino of Philadelphia, and your timekeeper Lou Hubbard of Norwich. Ladies and gentlemen, presenting and introducing to you in the red corner with a red shot from 26 wins from 29 contests, the current Commonwealth middleweight champion from Islington, Michael Watson! And ladies and gentlemen, in the blue corner, with the gold shorts, with 27 wins and 27 contests, defending the title, Brighton's WBO middleweight champion of the world, Chris Eubank!
So that's it, the talking's over, and
both boxers scaled 11 stone 6 pounds. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you.
so there he is, the referee from New Jersey, actually, not Philadelphia. Is just making sure they're listening to what he told them in the dressing rooms about standing back. The 3 knockdown rule in any one round by one boxer is in effect. So if any boxer goes down in the same boxer goes down in 3 times in the same round, then it's all over. We've seen that before in the Nigel Benn fight. So he's just standing there in the corner, Eubank, just almost like an empress surveying some unruly subject, doesn't he? Okay, he's decided to stay in the corner. That's the first tactic of the evening. There is only one. It's the greatest one-off in the business, this fellow Eubank. Now, is this going to be a chess match, a catcher's can? Watson, as Jim Rosenthal said, is really up for this fight. He fancies it so much, but well, one doesn't know whether he lost to Mike McCullum 11 hard rounds and then counted out. Well, that's taken a bit of sting out of him, but I doubt it. I watched him in sparring and he's happy. Whether he's had to drag to do 11-6, we don't know. On the other hand, Eubank isn't that easy to do the weight. He has to take quite a lot of poundage off. Both of them are on strict diets leading up to this fight. And both came in bang on the button, 11 stone 6 pounds. This matches the atmosphere we had with Watson and Ben in that super tent in Finsbury Park. And of course, he beat Ben, and so did Eubanks afterwards. Well, both of them, Jim, said it's going to be easy. I think it's going to be far from that.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough one. Watson's previous challenge for a world title, he was forced to fight a battle he didn't like fighting against McCallum, and the same thing could be happening tonight. Watson likes an opponent to be aggressive, come towards him. He's an excellent counter puncher with an excellent defence, but like Eubank, he's not quite as comfortable coming forward. But being the challenger, I think he's going to be the one who is forced to come forward. So I would say the first few rounds that are very important for Michael Watson. He wants to build up an early lead, then maybe he can box his own kind of fight.
Well, he certainly did it with Nigel Ben. Brilliant tactics. He let Ben have a fling, but then again, there's no point in going back to what happened in the past. A different type of opponent in front of him. And we've seen so far that Eubank's had a really good chin.
Watson hasn't employed the same tight defence as he did against Ben. He's a little bit looser already. His chin much more exposed than it was that night.
And we're now coming in the last half minute then in this opening round. There's a bit of a searching start, as you would expect. Just flicking away, keeping Eubank occupied with that left-hand jab, which does score, remember. In fact, most great fighters have always boxed their way in with a good stiff left jab. Well, there it is then, coming up round two. I think this American referee's had his card marked a little bit because we weren't satisfied with the referee in Eubank's previous fight with Dan Sherry, the Canadian. And I imagine the supervisor from the WBO has told Cappuccino to keep well on top of these guys. Eubank likes to counterpunch him, and Watson's playing his game by walking into him, but then I imagine that Watson thinks that's his best tactics. He can't afford to lay back.
Yeah, but I think Eubank is a little bit more positive in this fight than he was in his previous two defences. He's paying more attention to what he's doing. His concentration is better. He hasn't been throwing those silly punches. Some of his right hands have gone round behind Watson, but Watson has moved into them. But Eubank, there's a difference in his attitude tonight, much more business-like. He's still mucking around a little bit. He hasn't set at a fast pace, but you can see he's really paying attention. Obviously, he respects this fellow.
And they're only flicking punches by Watson with the left hand. He's trying to box his way in, sort of taps on the forehead and the chin like a Chinese water torture, really. See, good counter puncher, Eubank. A good left hook that was, Jim, wasn't it? Sharp one.
Well, I do feel that Watson's defence is nothing like as tight as it was against Ben, and I think he should adopt those tactics because Eubank is a thumping puncher. He's not known as a one-hit knockout merchant, but he really is a thumping puncher, good power. So Watson just looks a little bit loose to me at the moment, and he paid the price with that shot. See, we've seen that Eubank's weakness is in coming forward. So I feel Watson should be trying to build up an early lead, which would then force Eubank to have to come forward and lead off. Then maybe Watson could box his own fight. But Watson hasn't set a pace. I wonder if maybe the weight problems we've heard about are in his mind, and he quite prefers an easy start.
Trying to shoot the uppercut in there, Eubank. He's good at that. He's used it at previous fights rather well. Watson's not going to go to the body soon, because if there is any weakness, it could be Eubanks around the body. He moaned a bit when he fought Kid Milo. And he was hit there.
Watson's stretching a little bit with the punches there. He's going to have to move in on top of the punches if he gets caught stretching. he's going to feel the power in these counter punches. You can't afford to stretch against a counter punch. You have to move right in on top of him.
Coming up to the end of the second. And remember that Watson's had 3 wins since he lost to Mike McCallum. A little bit of needle showing there. And it's so he's saying, don't touch me, I'm not ready yet. It really looks like the actor going into the makeup room, doesn't he? He refuses to sit down, and he's having a word with him, Frank Cappuccino, saying, what was that all about? I don't want any sillies at the end of a round like that. He's obviously heard about the problem with the Dan Sherry fight. But he paid his debt for that, cost him 10,000 quid. In replay, the good left hook, Jim.
Yeah, well, Watson stretching a little bit with some of his punches, and he got caught. His own defences are a little bit loose, and he got caught with a good shot, which just shook him momentarily.
No, that wasn't, in fact, the left hook. I thought it may have been, but there you are. We'll catch up with that. But Ronnie Davis in the corner. I don't know, some talk about him being the ninth player of his career. He began his career, by the way, in Atlantic City. He had 5 wins there in just 4-round fights, Chris Eubank. So he's knocked around a bit. And we're out for the third. He really is some character, this champion, there's no doubt about it. It's good. I don't know quite whether he's the love to hate or hate to love him, Jim, do you really? Because he certainly has some... there's more attraction about him, doesn't he?
Yeah, and you can't fault an unbeaten record. I mean, he breaks a few of the rules, the conventional rules, but he's very effective, and as I say, unbeaten, what can you say?
He treats the game, as he keeps saying, like an art, and he enjoys that part of it, but he's always saying he doesn't like the game, he wants to be free of it. And the only way you can do that is to earn plenty of money and get out.
See, Watson hasn't been able to string any rhythm into his work. It's all just kind of 1 and 2 shot stuff, and that suits Eubank. He likes to control the pace this way, and just uses his evasive boxing, standing off. Watson, I think, is going to have to raise the pace a little bit, take the fight a bit more to Eubank, get on top of him.
Both fine specimens, actually, at middleweight, even if they do have to drag a bit to get to that poundage. They could go up to super middleweight. It's a 12-stone division, might suit them both happier later on. But the middleweight division, second only to the heavyweights really for attraction, has been all over the years. Creates a bit of suspense, Jim, doesn't he? Eubank is saying, well, what's he going to do now when he's backing off? You can almost see him thinking his next punch.
Yeah, there is a lot of suspense, but the fight itself hasn't really caught fire the way we know it's going to. They're both finding it difficult to find the target. They're just getting a little bit closer now.
Oh, that's the best shot of the round there for Watson. Peach of a right-hand punch. Travelled a long way, but Eubank got the message.
See, single shots are no good against Eubank. Watson is going to have to throw him in 3s and 4s. He won't catch him with single shots. That was a beauty.
And now it's livening up now, isn't it? They've finally really got to grips with the punching power. But he's absorbed it well, Eubank. Give him credit. Round 4 then, scheduled for 12 for this World Boxing Organisation Middleweight Championship of the World. And just to remind you that if one boxer goes down 3 times in any round, it's automatically over, or the referee, of course, could stop it after a first knockdown. having, well, some success with the right-hand shot in the third now. I'm wondering whether Michael Watson's going to follow that up. Although they've had one-round wins, Jim, in their career, they're not really the fastest of starters, either of them. They like to work the other way out a little bit, don't they? Soften them up.
They're both thinking fighters. Watson's beginning to step a little bit closer, and that's what he must do. He was reaching with some of the punches earlier, and that's very dangerous against a customer like Eubank. So he should be stepping up a little bit closer and letting punches go, 2s and 3s. Single punches are also a danger against this fellow.
He's determined to keep just pinching the punches with the left hand there, Watson.
Eubank throws a crude right hand, but he has such good reflexes and timing. He gets his own chin out of harm's way. He's difficult to pin even when he makes mistakes. He really has good reflexes.
He does it mostly with body sways rather than footwork, doesn't he?
Yeah, you see sometimes he throws a big crude right hand which misses, but doesn't get caught with too many counters.
He's always looking as though he's trying to draw Watson in. Now that may be the tactic, but meanwhile Watson's just quietly getting on with the job.
As long as Watson steps in, he'll be all right, Reds, but if he reaches in with the punches, then he's going to be punished. He has to step in.
So it's tit for tat, good left hook there. I think he started the ball rolling now. And is that the first stone of a landslide coming up from Eubank? It's ridiculous, Jim, really. He looks as though he boxes by numbers. He's saying, well, have that, now have that punch, now what do I do next?
Just does a little bit of work and then stands off, keeps the pace under control. Everything has to be done at his pace. He's very good at controlling a fight. You know, he works when he wants to work. He doesn't get forced into doing too much. He is very good at what he does.
He doesn't believe in boxing the 3 minutes of every round, does he? That long walk back to the corner there, as though he's going back to dismiss all the work in the office. It's just no office cares with this fellow. He's got it well under control. He's insensitive to criticism, he's told me in the past. James, have a look at that again.
Yeah, well, Eubank still controlling the pace, and that was a good left hook. Watson, as he's proved earlier, has a good chin. But that one doesn't do you any good. Eubank saw the advantage, tried to pile it on, realised nothing doing, stepped back into his old act again.
Now remember, the referee comes to the three judges and collects their card for each round. So they themselves usually don't know what they've scored until the end anyway. Las Vegas, Miami, Puerto Rico, should it go before this?
Round 5.
Are we up? You know, when he goes in like that, he almost falls over himself. It's incredible, that, isn't he? He ducks his head to get out of the way, Eubank.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Some of his attacking moves really leave a lot to be desired, but still, his reflexes keep him out of trouble. And it's all just part of his style, and probably part of the awkwardness, the reason opponents find it difficult to catch him with good shots. But Watson needs to find a bit more rhythm in his work. It's disjointed, and that's because of the way Eubank keeps breaking the rhythm.
Just one more back reference, really. It's no point in Watson waiting for Eubank to punch himself out as he did with Nigel Benn. Because he only does it in spasms anyway.
Watson had moved right on to one there, Reg. That was a good solid right hand shot. See, once again, Watson's defence not as tight as it should be. He's not paying Eubank the same punching power respect that he paid Nigel Benn, and he really walked on a real solid right hand shot then.
It's see now Eubank confident again, isn't he? Not backing off, he's standing ground.
See, there's a difference in Eubank's attitude tonight. Obviously, he feels he has a lot to prove against Watson. The height maybe upset him, put him on his toes, but his attitude right from the off, a little bit dangerous the way he moved in with his head then. But as I say, attitude a lot better tonight.
Yeah, the Barry Herb promotional camp have been saying that Eubanks has promised him that this is going to be his best performance. He's going to show some boxing ability and punching ability it hasn't really shown in the past. Now he's got to cover up now, Watson. He's saying okay, almost beckoning him on there, Jim. Shouldn't be doing that.
I would still like to see Watson's defence a little bit tighter, Reg. Still not tight enough.
Those flicking left hands, all right, they're point scoring, but they're not bothering Eubank at all. It's just like being annoyed by a fly, although you and I wouldn't like to take them.
Watson's not getting close enough to be effective, Reg. Eubank controlling the range, just keeping him at bay, messing him around, and most of the good solid shots have come from Eubank. Not all on target, but good solid shots he's thrown.
So we come up to the end of the round then, the heavy chanting of the crowd. So round 6, and it really started. It does start to catch fire in that 5th round now, this battle. It's been a bit tactical early on, and boxing well within themselves. The strength, it would appear, coming from Eubank, although Watson's had 1 or 2 successes as well.
See, Watson doesn't seem to me to be fired up the same way he was against McCallum. I mean, it just seemed it was a dream come true night for him against McCallum. Things were going wrong all the way through, but what a tremendous performance. Really, the grit he showed and the way he went about his job. But he just hasn't set himself alight the same way tonight.
And Mike McCallum, the great WBA champion, Jim, he's actually sitting alongside us here at ringside. We'll try and get a word with him if we can very soon.
Good right hand shot from Watson, but as we know, Eubank has a chin of stone.
Do I sense a little bit of puffiness around Eubank's left eye, Jim? There'll be a complaint about that to somebody.
Yeah, well, Watson now getting a little bit closer, putting punches out in twos. That's what he has to do. This fella's too difficult to catch with single punches. You have to throw 2 or 3, and the last one's liable to catch. This is better stuff now from Watson. He has to get himself fired up. I wonder maybe if the 12 rounds and the 11 stone 6 weight limits in his mind. Maybe intend starting at the halfway stage, but this is slightly better from Watson now, getting closer, putting punches together.
He actually admitted to me at Watson, Jim, that he was worried when he fought McCallum about going 12 rounds for the first time. As you know, he went 11, but I think he's dismissed that from his mind for this fight. But again, it's the weight. He says he does it, and he knows better than anybody his own body, obviously. He started his pro career at 11.9 and a half, and now he's still doing 11.6.
Well, Watson finding the target more regularly in this round than he has in any previous round. Hasn't troubled Eubank, but at least getting a bit more success now. See, if Watson puts Eubank under a little bit more pressure, he'll force some mistakes, and that's what he's been doing in this round. Eubank has made a few mistakes, and Watson, good accurate shots.
Yeah, it looks very much like a chance of a second half fight, this one, doesn't it? That will sort the winner out. Yeah, it's going to change its pace a bit, Jim, isn't it?
Yeah, well, Watson, as I say, he's stepping in a bit closer now, so he's getting the punches home with a little bit of power. Yeah, the fight really catching fire now.
2 rounds. 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 2 So I think we can get Mike McCallum, who's been nabbed by Gary Newbon.
Mike, how are you scoring this?
I think the fight about even at this point. I think I'm tend to shade for Watson. Watson's jabbing beautifully. He's being more aggressive. What he needs to do is to be more aggressive. He give Eubanks too much time to relax and hold. He should be all over Eubanks. You give him time to do what he want to do.
Do you think Watson's strong enough to last the distance, sir?
Well, that's the question mark in my mind at this point. Eubanks looked fresh at this point and was strong in the fight, going up the 7th round. Watson's doing all right, but he's don't look as strong. Look like he's weakening.
Thank you, Mike.
So they are words from the champ. So he's put on a bit of weight too. And they're never in a hurry to fight that fight. He's a real throwback top pro, that one. So now then, he's got Watson just a shade in front. I can't really sort it out, Jim. It's been too close for me.
Yeah, well, there's been too many rounds when not enough was happening, Reg. You know, kind of scuffling rounds and posing rounds in the early stages. Watson just completed a good round, but I thought that the more solid punches in some of the earlier rounds were coming from Eubank. It is pretty close, so if we looked upon it as pretty much even at the moment, then we could start afresh, because it seems as though the action has started afresh. But I would still like to see Watson's defence just a little bit tighter. And I agree with Mike McCallum. He's got to keep this man under pressure, force him into making mistakes. You can't allow Eubank to dictate the pace.
No, he's going for a walk along the Brighton beach here at the moment. Eubank, he does that. He can relax in a fight.
See, if Watson would show Eubank a little feint, just force him into doing something. But Watson's just wading in. He would just try to break his rhythm up a little bit, show a little feint, draw the lead.
It's really trying to sort of shine a bit of contempt really for Watson, isn't he? That I'm not worried about your punching power. Mind you, he's just staying that bit out of distance. He's no fool. He's always been a good boxer, Watson. I've watched him right from the schools, junior ABAs, National Association of Boys Clubs.
See, I think the real war that Eubank had with Nigel Benn, I don't think Eubank is prepared to get involved in another fight like that. He's told us already his heart's not in the game, so I think he tries to look for ways of making the game a little bit easier, or as easy as possible. So I don't think he wants to really get involved. If Watson really puts him under pressure and really sets the fight alight, maybe he would take over.
Minute to go in the 7th. Well, the man at the back of the crowd could see what was happening there, so Frank Cappuccino had no problem. A little friendly touch there. It's a bit like the handshake of a dentist before the extraction, that one. You know, I thought he would get up a little bit in gear there, Watson, didn't he? He's done that, hasn't he? He did this in his previous fights, except with McCallum, of course. Different kettle of fish.
Well, he was in the right gear with McCallum, but it's just that McCallum was just too sharp and too good a pro for him. But he seemed a lot fresher and more positive that night, even although he was losing until finally McCallum broke him up.
Well, while Eubank has the long drag back to the corner, I'll look quickly at Michael Watson. Lost two. He's 2 to champions. Mike McCallum, and there he is close up, and James Cook, Londoner now, who's gone on to win the European Championship as well at super middleweight. So he got a draw in America, which was actually a technical draw. Israel Cole of Las Vegas was cut in the second, and they called it a technical draw. And he stopped 21 of 28 opponents. And the gentleman in evening dress on the outside is not trying to get in or be the promoter. He's actually an inspector of the Boxing Board of Control. He just makes sure there's nothing wrong going on, no stimulants given, and no horseshoes slipped in the gloves. Round 8. Now they can have problem. I think these judges sorted this one out, although Getting back to Dan Sherry and Eubank, Jim White and I thought he was losing the fight, especially when there was penalised points. But in fact, the judges had him in front. So it's difficult to say with people from New Jersey, Las Vegas, Miami and Puerto Rico. And the referee, of course, doesn't vote from New Jersey.
Eubank just had a couple of lazy rounds, but he set a pace in this one. And Watson come back into things a lot because Eubank was really doing nothing.
No, he went for walkabout, didn't he, in the previous round? That title of simply the best must be nagging Eubank, but in fairness to him, he didn't invent that. It was actually the wife of promoter Barry Hearn who did that on the Tina Turner record. He's landing, he's stepping in a bit closer now, Watson, as you've been saying early on.
That's what he has to do. He has to put this man under a little bit more pressure. If there's too much space between the two of them, that suits Eubank. Watson's going to have to move in and throw punches in 2s and 3s. Just a little bit more sharpness is needed from Watson. I mean, you wonder a little bit of trouble making middleweight and then the hard battle with Mike McCallum, and both these things have taken a little edge away from him that'll never be there again. Just a little bit more sharpness is required.
He's still doing enough this round though, Jim, isn't he?
Yep, he's the man doing the work there as in the previous 2 rounds.
See, the thing is with these 3, foreign judges, we can call them, I suppose, obviously, is that they like the busy fighters, even if they're not always landing on target. If the guy looks like he's doing something, they'll score for him.
Yeah, and I feel a lot of Eubank's punches have gone round behind Watson and he's taken them on his glove. In the early rounds, I thought Eubank's punches were more solid, but they're not as accurate now as Watson's.
Now on work achieved, I'd go with Mike McCallum now after these 2 good rounds for Watson.
Well, that's 2 good rounds plus this one, Reg. So Eubank came out at the bell of this round as though he was really going to take charge. It lasted about 15 seconds and then he went back into the old routine again. See, I just wonder if Eubank really fancies real hard fights anymore. I think the Nigel Benn one's going to be left its mark in his mind.
Well, what atmosphere we're getting tonight on this. I tell you, there's plenty of good fiddlers in this company, but the best is Nigel Kennedy. Come in.
Nigel, you used to big crowds. Well, what about the atmosphere here?
My God, it beats like what happens at my gigs. I tell you, if I wasn't playing the violin and I went in and took one punch from one of them guys, it would be enough to make me start playing the violin. Amazing.
What do you think of the fight so far?
I think it's an amazing fight. I've got one for the public. Me as the public, what I'd like to see is the loser to fight Nigel Benn, the winner to fight Mike McCallum. I think that'd be brilliant. And then the winner of that fight to fight who's left.
Who's going to be the winner of this fight?
I think Eubank will do it. I think Eubank deserves half of the support in this hall and he's not getting it for some reason. He's an individual and I warmed him from that point of view. I think like Watson's a great gentleman and a great fighter. Get him through now. Eubank in the end. Go for it.
Okay, thank you.
Round 9. And it's, tension time for everybody. The experts, the non-experts, the champs and the old jumps all around the ringside here, trying to work out who's going to get the decision. And it's very hard to call when you know you've got abroad people coming in and sometimes look at a contest slightly differently than the British versions.
Well, Eubank again, a little bit dangerous with his head. He just walked on in with it then. I think Eubank is going to have to move up a gear. He looks the stronger of the 2 at this point. He looks to have plenty of reserve. He's paced the fight beautifully. But we're now reaching the later stages, so now he should really be sitting to what. But this is where Watson has proved in the past. He knows how to grit his teeth and just really move into top gear and keep banging away, even if it's really, really hard.
Well, Eubank was quoted in one of the tabloids as being the punching prophet and fancied it would be in the 9th round his victory. We shall see. They're not all like Muhammad Ali. thing with Watson, Jim, he's refused to be ruffled at all, isn't he? He hasn't been disheartened even when he's been called with good punches.
No, he really is a good pro, Watson. You know, if he's been hurt with a punch, he doesn't show. If he takes a good body shot, he just looks straight back at the opponent. But I always feel just a little bit more sharpness in his work. It used to be there, it doesn't seem to be there tonight. He's still putting up a real great battle, and there's 3 good rounds behind him on the trot.
He's going to mark over Watson's right eye, Jim. The blood is close to it. I don't know if it's just a smear of Vaseline or he's...
I think it's the little graze he has.
Oh, it's the graze there, yeah. Well, I hope that doesn't worsen quickly, because we don't want an injury spoiling this contest. He just laid back about 2 months, Eubank. His self-belief is not quite happening here.
Watson come to southpaw for a bit here. Don't see the point in that. He doesn't look as comfortable southpaw. There goes his first mistake. Yeah, back he comes to orthodox again.
Yeah, he's doing all right orthodox. He doesn't need to switch hit like that.
Well, Watson's exerting a little bit of pressure on Eubank now. Without really throwing punches, just moving in, stalking him and forcing him into making some mistakes. Eubank's looking for deep breaths now.
Yeah, see, for the first time that Eubank actually using his feet to get away. There he goes again, a little ring of roses there, the way he goes in circles.
See, Eubank never sustains punching range, so sometimes when he throws 5 or 6 punches, he's out of breath quick and he goes for a rest. He probably trains the same way he fights, he doesn't sustain the action.
Pull him back to the corner there. Eubank is doing another walkabout. He was a bit pleased with himself. He sort of showed out to the crowd there, as though at the end of the round there he did okay. Jim?
Yeah, well, Watson again keeping him under pressure. Eubank flailing away towards the end of the round here. Watson not troubled, but again Watson was the one keeping things under control. He's beginning to control the action a bit more than he did earlier. Earlier on it was Eubank. Now Watson having a little bit of control.
See, up before the bell, just shows he's full of confidence. Not that he wasn't when he came in, but as the fight's gone on, he's got a little bit worked up about it now, Watson. He fancies he can win this now.
Watson wants his chin down a little bit and a bit more attention to defence as he stalks forward. But he really has found a little bit of rhythm in the last few rounds.
Now, can Eubank find the blow that's going to be the payoff? Or are we misreading it, Jim? We don't know the way it's going.
I think Watson has turned the fight in his favour. I thought Eubank with the more solid quality punching in the earlier rounds, but he really has gone to sleep for far too long periods, and Watson has come right back into things. He's worked at a steady pace. Some of the little jabs from Watson have just been little prods, but they've been scoring, they've been landing on target. Eubank's missing a lot as he does, but still in the balance. But I would have Watson a couple of rounds in front at the moment. Showing a few signs of tiredness. Watson looked the tireder of the two a couple of rounds earlier, but with a little bit of success he's had, I think he's livened up a little bit. And now Eubank, now and again, is looking for big deep breaths.
It's amazing, given how you fellas, especially in the championship fight, when it's going your way, you forget about the fact that you're getting tired, especially when you can see the other guys.
Well, that's right. You get a lift if you feel you know how bad you feel, but if you feel other fellas worse, then it gives you a lift. See Watson still prodding away. He's not having quite such a good round here. Eubank firing back a little bit more here. But Watson just doing the same thing, coming forward, pumping out the punches.
He's getting a bit desperate now, Eubank. He's leaning in with the punches. He's trying to find the one that's going to count.
Eubank's throwing them now, Reds, but they're not accurate. You know, they're crude swings.
Well, you know, to beat a cliche to death, Jim. It's never over until the final bell, and a punch is always in there with a chance.
Yeah, Watson has just found it. And Eubank complaining to the referee, which is a bad sign. He's lost all control, all composure, real under pressure here.
What a turn on for Watson this is. He's only had one brief count in his career against the light heavyweight, and then he had a slip against Ben with water canvas, but he looks as though he might be going for the very first time there, Eubank.
Eubank really gasping for breath now, Reg. Look, he's almost as tired here as he was against Ben. Really feeling the pace. Watson with a stone face in front of him.
I want a wide wave to the crowd there and saluted I do well. A little bit marked under the left eye as well, Eubank. He always walks a long way around to the corner. I think he could do with every second of the 60-second respite in that stall. He's trying to say something. No, he looked through the trainer's arms there to see what round it was, actually. Either that or to see what was on the back of the board of the Daily Mirror sponsorship.
Yeah, see Watson's still in control. His defence has tightened up a little bit. Eubank looking for a walk, a couple of punches, and he's looking for the back door now. He wants to drop the pace. Watson really fired up now. A few good rounds there. He's really got control of the action, and he really took total charge just for a few seconds there. Looked as though he may force a stoppage.
Well, the bookmakers were a bit cagey about the odds with this fight. They were both odds on. But I think the weight of money might have gone for Watson at the end. So they may have to pay out.
Well, Watson wants a nice tight defence, Reg, and let Eubank throw a few punches, because he's never sustained the action in any of his fights.
So 11th round. The referee doing a good job here. It's a sort of contest. No, he's not counting that as a knockdown there. He's quite rightly waved to the timekeeper not to take up the count there. He did the same with Ben, you remember. But that surely must also show signs of tiredness with the champion there.
See, now that Eubank is tired, Reg, his reflexes aren't quite as good. The mistakes that he was making earlier, now he'll be punished for them. He's not getting his chin pulled out in time.
Now he's been exposed a bit now, Eubank, isn't he? He's run out of ideas, and the other fellow stuck to his task. Just let the boxing do the talking, as they say.
See, I feel like Eubank, if he trains the same way he boxes, Reg, and little some spasms, then going for walks, then he can't sustain action, because you have to train the same way you intend fighting. And if you want to sustain action in a match, you have to do it in training. But a few punches and he's got to go for a walk. Watson has kept a steady pace all the way through.
Well, he's got a lot of Arsenal players with him, Michael Watson. He trains there at Highbury, and in soccer speak they must be saying the boy's done well. But so far, can he pull it back still? He's got, what, 3.5 minutes to do it, Eubank.
But there, Reg, see, he threw some good punches and then he goes walking away again to catch his breath. He doesn't sustain the action.
And there was another example, Jim. Off that one, they could do without it. Lord's by the look of it, the way he threw that. So they come to me, I'm tired, I don't want to come to you, he's saying.
A little bit closer this round, Reg. They're both getting home with the punches here. Eubank's trying to rally a little bit.
He's talking to him, Watson, saying, come on, come on. He thinks he's got it in the bag. I think thing with Eubank is it just doesn't change expression even when he gets back in the corner, so there's not much you can do about it. They're giving him a shower bath actually to come out for the last round. Now, can it all be turned around in the last? Because there's no doubt now Jimmy has got Watson comfortably ahead of it, I thought.
Yeah, well, I like Watson's work far better than anything Eubank has produced. See here, he did a little bit better in this round. He tightened things up a little bit and fired himself up, but some of his punches still very crude and off target. See Watson blocking these shots. This is where he had a little rally, 5 or 6 punches. Then when he's done that, he has to go for a walk to get his breath back. But I feel that Watson's in front. A good round would just put a clincher on it.
So there it is then, coming out for the final 3 minutes. Tremendous atmosphere here at Earls Court 2. Magnificent building. Something about 686 buses could be stationed here if they want to, so that's where they've all gone. So now, is there going to be a turnaround in this one, or can Watson hang on to what Jim Watson, I think, is the lead anyway? We know you can't stick your chin out with invading judges like this, but I'll be very surprised if it goes the other way. And they're still talking to each other. Eubank has answered Watson back now. He's saying, OK, come on. He's looking for Watson to get a bit ragged, and he won't stand for that.
But Watson's going to have to respond here, Reg. I mean, Eubank in front in the early stages with the more solid punches, so that there's not too much in this fight. I feel Watson's got himself in front. He's going to have to work to stay there.
Looks like it's going to be a victory for old-fashioned, skilled boxing, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, Watson is the perfect profession. He does everything right, moves around right, slips punches, throws good jabs, puts them together. As soon as Watson managed to get a little bit closer to Eubank, he's got himself right back into the fight and controlled a lot of the action.
Is he going to be left without the crown now and only talking a good fight in 50 years? And Watson predicted exactly really how he was going to cope with this. He never said, I'm going to knock him out. He just said, I'm going to take care of him, I'm going to put him in his place. I have the style and the skill and the power to do it.
Yeah, Watson's still drumming out the punches at the same rhythm that he's been doing all the way through. So we'll see if Eubank can sustain this now. Not back he goes for a rest. Half a dozen punches. Watson gets back into his rhythm again.
So there's the half minute. And it's no use Eubank trying to talk his way through this part of the fight. It's got to be all or nothing, and it looks like it'll be nothing. And he's on his toes, Watson, at the finish. He's sure he's won it. Too late for a knockout anyway, because the bell would sound and interrupt the count. And there it is. And Eubank's raising his hand, but Watson seems to know. Now I wonder if the security can keep out people for a change and not let them all caper in celebration all over the ring here. We could do without that. Well, the referee, in fact, just above me in this melee almost around us, is picking up the final card from the judge. So now Barry Hearn goes over there, a successful promoter with this one, I must say, a packed house, and congratulates Michael Watson. And he'll be looking to make the fight with Nigel Benn, the big return. Jimmy Tibbs working in the corner there, wasn't called upon really to be the cut man, but a good old-fashioned experience in there with Eric Seacon. So it's a good night for the Watson family from North London. surrounded in the other corner there, Eubank. We're not sure how he's taken this, and Barry Hearn looked as though he's consoling him and saying, well, go and walk back to the corner, wait for the official verdict. And Eubanks apparently looked as though he was saying that I think he's got it. Well, Jim, final one, will you be surprised if he does?
No, I'll go with Watson. After an excellent last round as well. Eubank says he thinks he's won, but his heart doesn't look like it's in it. At the finish of the fight, he put his hands in the air, but he didn't look like a happy man. Watson was delighted. He really believes in his heart that he's done enough, and I agree with him. I think he's boxing all the way through, a good steady pace. So some of the punches were little light dunts and just plugging away, but there were still point-scoring punches, so I have Watson in front.
So what happens now, you see the 3 scorecards go to the supervisor, and then the British Boxing Board of Control representatives also look over and make sure that they've added correctly. See, it always seems a simple job, but the mistakes have been made. Well, sweaty palms all around, as I'm always saying. The newspaper boys, magazine photographers all on the outside of the rope now. They don't invade the ring as they did in the old days. And waiting for the winner's hand to be raised, and the jurors' scenes to follow as always.
Well, the officials in the past, Reg, have liked what Eubank does better than we do and disagreed with us. I wonder if there's going to be another case for that. I really feel happy with Watson.
That's John Morris of the Boxing Board of Control now. I think he's got the cards now, the Master of Ceremony, Alan Hughes. Always draw this one out, I think, to make the tension worse. He's still waiting, the white jacketed MC there, Alan Hughes, is still waiting for the cards to be given to him and approved. But if I'm judged by Barry Hearn's face, I don't think that his man, Eubank, although he's the manager, I don't think he's actually such a promoter and advisor, has won it. And that's the supervisor in the centre there from Miami Beach. Well, sorry to hold on like this, but we can't do anything about that. In a way, I suppose it adds to the ridiculous tension that only the fight game. You've got to have a sense of humour, the lovers of the fight game. It's obligatory, not optional. But I'm convinced now, looking at Barry Hearn's face, Jim, there's no way Eubank's going to. Here it is.
Judge Carlos Colon scores the contest 116 points to 113 points in favour of Chris Eubank.
So well, Eubank gets the first one by 2 rounds. That's the Puerto Rican judge.
Ladies and gentlemen, Judge John Rupert scores the contest 114 points to each boxer. A draw on John Rupert's card.
Draw by the Miami judge. Oh dear, Watson doesn't like this.
Ladies and gentlemen,
he keeps the title.
Judge Arthur Lewis scores the contest 115 points to 113. The winner and still the WBO champion of the world, Chris Eubank!
I did disagree with that, but there you are. If you watch from home, you may have a different version. But one judge sitting on the fence there from Miami getting splintered, I would think. And then 1-5 to 1-1-3 for Eubank from the Las Vegas judge. I said right all the way through, I've been saying they often judge contests differently to we do. But Jim, I really did think Watson.
Yeah, can't go along with that, Reg. From the 7th round onwards, Watson really came in, got control of the action. Eubank became ragged. Watson won the fight in my eyes.